California's launched a preemptive strike against the incoming Trump administration.
Well, we've told you about the state legislature's plan setting aside millions to defend some of the Golden State's progressive laws, but what about imposing other measures?
ABC 7 News Building a Better Bay Area reporter Leanne Melendez has been looking into that. What'd you find?
Well, people are calling it, California versus Trump 2.0, Trump Part 2, whatever you want to call it, whether you voted for Vice President Harris or President-elect Trump, you are going to be caught in a political war over California's politics. That's a given. Now, the state is preparing for a battle on multiple fronts that includes possibly bringing back some ideas proposed by former Republican Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And it's not just rhetoric. It's not just threats.
Governor Newsom and most Democratic lawmakers are preparing to protect California's progressive policies in the courts, like they did during the first Trump administration.
California won 80% of those lawsuits. And so this is a man who has no issue violating the law. And we want to send a very clear message, not just to Donald Trump, but to the people of California, that we have people's backs here in California. Of course, we should and we will work with the president-elect on areas where we agree. And there's always going to be some agreement, and it's not about fighting for the sake of fighting.
This time, lawmakers anticipate there will be more on the list of possible lawsuits.
It could be things like climate action, reproductive freedom, civil rights, immigrant families. But also one part of this that's important as well is protecting California taxpayers.
Protecting California taxpayers means ensuring that if Californians pay their share of taxes to the federal government, then President-elect Trump should not withhold any kind of federal disaster funds, as he threatened to do last October. On the flip side, one may argue that necessity is the mother of political innovation. New York State Senator Liz Krueger recently suggesting some liberal Northeast states could withhold billions of dollars in federal taxes if President-elect Trump goes through with his plans for mass deportations. California already gets back less in federal taxes than it pays. 2022 data reveals that California and 12 other states shown here received less in federal funds. That means California and the other wealthier states are subsidizing the rest of the states shown in blue. In fiscal 2022, California sent about $692 billion to the federal government and only got back around $620 billion in federal funds. That's about a $72 billion deficit. By comparison, that's about 3 times the state's $27 billion 2023-24 budget deficit. We've known about this disparity for some time because in 2003, then Republican Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger complained that the federal funding system was unfair and that he would fight for the money. He was quoted then as saying, "For each dollar that we pay, we only get 77 cents back. So there's a lot of money we can get from the federal government." But would California lawmakers today have the political will to intensify its pressure on the Trump administration?
I think if you're going to start to threaten the federal government with withholding, demanding that individuals withhold their federal tax payment, that isn't a rhetoric that actually works very well. And you don't actually really, I don't think, want to be in that battle.
John Perez was Speaker of the Assembly near the end of Schwarzenegger's administration and says there are ways to get more money for California.
One of the things that I think are going to be the most successful strategies at drawing down more federal money is actually keeping money here at home. How do we do that? We do that by working on a bipartisan basis to overturn the limits on deductibility of California state and local taxes.
Tax reforms passed last time President Trump was in office limited tax deductions to $10,000. He has indicated he may reverse those limits on things like that cap on your mortgage interest deduction. Voters have also indicated they want government to work for them. And as the national election showed us, here in California there was voter frustration over some of the state's progressive policies. That's one reason why Republicans gained ground in almost all counties in the state.
Our constituents, they don't feel that the state of California is working for them.
And so the new Speaker of the California Assembly suggested that we set certain issues aside and focus on charting a new path forward and renew the California dream by focusing on affordability.
They're anxious because they feel it. They feel it at the grocery store when they have to pay their bills. They feel it every time they fill up their gas tank for their long commutes from work to home.
The Democratic Party has not sufficiently addressed the rising cost of living, has not sufficiently addressed economic concerns. So certainly if you're going to talk about the agenda for the legislature for the coming year, addressing affordability, the cost of living, housing, those related set of issues that we know are priorities for voters is critical for the legislature to address.
So how do you make California more affordable? Housing, making energy cheaper, and improving public infrastructure. All of that has to happen quickly and efficiently, something that California doesn't always do. Now, the problem is that, you know, people in California want things done right away. They want to see the results. And these three elements, especially housing, is going to take a long time.